All right, as everybody's getting seated here, we'll go ahead and get started with our announcement today. I'm Doug Boles with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Thank you for joining us today. We are 115 days away from the 103rd running of the Indianapolis 500, and as we walked in today in wind chill of about -2, or just about 100 degrees colder than it was on race day last year. So we're hoping that in 115 days we have some sort of happy medium, like maybe 80 degrees warmer than it is today, but we feel certain that that's the case. More importantly, in 36 days, the NTT INDYCAR Series kicks off at St. Petersburg. Testing ramps up next week. We're really excited about the new partnership with NTT, but really excited about the 2019 season. But today, we're here to talk about the Indianapolis 500 and the 103rd running of that. With us today, to my right, we have Mark Miles, the president and CEO of Hulman & Company that owns the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the NTT IndyCar Series. Dan Towriss, the president and CEO of Group 1001. The governor of the state of Indiana, Eric Holcomb, and Andretti Autosport driver, Zach Veach. So Mark, with that, why don't you and Dan talk a little bit about why we're here today?
Happily. Governor, I want to thank you for joining us. It's wonderful that you take time out of your schedule to be with us today on a red letter day. You know, some of the world's thinking about that other Super Bowl, but we're here to think about our Super Bowl, the NTT IndyCar Series Super Bowl, the Indianapolis 500-mile race. And our news today is that Gainbridge will be the presenting sponsor of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. We couldn't be more happy about this relationship for lots of reasons. First of all, Gainbridge, as I'm sure Dan will explain, is part of a company, and the holding company is Group 1001. We've gotten to know them over the last few years and have developed a great respect and admiration for that team. And Gainbridge is a particularly interesting platform from our perspective because it's going to be going direct to consumers and it becoming a national brand, I think, very quickly. I think of them a little bit like one might think of Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage. You know those names. You know that they go direct to consumers with their platforms. And we think Gainbridge is going to be in a different space, but in a similar way, approaching consumers. And we love a partner that's going to consumers and particularly targeting younger consumers, as Gainbridge will. Second reason we love them is we know they're good Hoosier citizens. And our relationship with them goes back to, I guess there's supposed to be a pause for the unveil of the logo. So please, you'll see Gainbridge. Gainbridge will be locked up with the 500 logo and everything we do from here on out for the next 4 years. They're just great people. They're headquartered here in Indianapolis. They're Hoosiers, even before that. Yep. And we've been involved with them through their relationship with an INDYCAR that will be talked about, I'm sure, in a second, and through the IWIT, the Indianapolis Women in Tech Golf Championship here. So over the years, we've grown to be huge admirers of Dan and his team and their businesses. And finally, I think there may be an opportunity in all this for you all to help us help drivers as they think about their own financial planning and growth. It seems to us that what you do is will add real value for the drivers, and we care deeply about them. So big day. This completes, it's the third of a few big announcements for us, and we just couldn't be more pleased with this one.
Very good. Well, thanks, Mark. You know, the Indy 500 is a best-in-class national brand, and we're building a national best-in-class platform. So we really think we found the perfect place to launch Gainbridge here at the Indy 500. You know, Gainbridge provides straightforward access to attractive products that investors can understand and buy directly to grow their money for goals big and small. It's a 21st century platform for the digital age, and it's part of Group 1001. Group 1001 manages more than 36 billion. It's a group of companies managing more than 36 billion in assets. Group 1001 is not only success-driven, but also civic-minded and sports-focused. As Mark mentioned, we've invested in Indy right here with the Indy Women in Tech Championship, and also through our Andretti Autosport sponsorship of Zach Veach. Right now, our new Gainbridge platform has launched in 4 states, including Indiana, a platform, a place that Governor Holcomb rightly says is easy to do business. We also plan an aggressive expansion strategy in 2019 with the Indy 500 sponsorship as our key piece of that strategy. We see many parallels between investing and racing. I think of the Indy 500 as culminating talent, dedication, and hard work to win an endurance race. And we see those parallels to Gainbridge as being something that we want to align ourselves with, and again, to make this a great place to launch our new platform. So we're looking forward to watching this partnership grow over the next several years and to the big things that we want to do as the presenting sponsor of the Indy 500 to make, again, for one of the most prestigious auto races in the country.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mark. Hey, Dan, I've just a quick question for you. It's been fun to watch you over the last several years as we've gotten to know you. You really take a holistic approach and view of the way you run your business. So it's not just about business, but it includes community, includes sports sponsorship. Can you talk a little bit about your vision and how you tie all this together and how this one component of Gainbridge and the Indy 500 fits into that overall vision?
Absolutely. So again, our definition of success is holistic. It's not just economic, but it's also civic-minded as well. At Group 1001, we believe in empowerment as a guiding principle, a central guiding principle for how we interact with our communities and our customers. And so, for example, we strive to empower our consumers through straightforward products that increase accessibility to financial products for their own personal benefit. We also believe in investing in our communities in the areas of sports and education. And so that's what initially drew us to relationship with the track through the Indy Women in Tech Championship, the LPGA Championship, but also into racing and so forth. And so again, whether we're giving back to communities or investing in our consumers to make, again, those products more straightforward, more accessible, expanding our marketplace beyond high net worth individuals, but to a broad spectrum of folks nationwide. And so that's really where we see what's driving our companies behind the Group 1001 brand.
Well, we're excited to have you on board, Dan. It's going to be a great partnership. We're looking forward to the 103rd running of the Indianapolis 500 presented by Gainbridge and doing that along with your team. Mark, I've been at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for 8 years. I've been in the INDYCAR series for 20. I can't think of a busier 45 days than we've had, just starting before Christmas with the announcement of Speedway Fuel and Convenience Stores as a partner, the NTT announcement in Detroit as the title sponsor for the series, and now this. Can you talk a little bit about the momentum that these three announcements really lead into as we look forward to that 36 days from now when St. Pete kicks off?
Sure, thanks, Doug. Well, we're obviously in a period of growth. It's not just momentum, it's growth, and we expect this to be yet another stepping stone to propel us forward with even more growth. And I think about a few things. One, it starts with the sport. And our racing, everybody knows, is the best in the world. And if that wasn't the case, it'd be harder to attract partners like Dan. But it is a great sport. We're represented by great athletes. Our drivers and our team owners and our promoters are fantastic. So the product, in a sense, we think speaks for itself. But we've worked really hard, our whole team, for many years now, to have folks understand that. And the way I look at the broader context here is everybody knows by now, if they live in this country, that NBC is on board, and they're going to do all they can to grow the prominence and the viewership for the Indianapolis 500-mile race presented by Gainbridge. And also for all of the NTT INDYCAR series. And they're serious, and if you've watched any NFL playoffs, you know that, coming out of the box so early in this year. And then, as you mentioned, Doug, we were able to create a great new relationship with Speedway convenience stores. This group has 4,000 convenience stores coast to coast. 2 million customers go through their stores every day, and they intend to really help us present the Indianapolis 500-mile race presented by Gainbridge and the series, and to really activate with that relationship. NTT is terrific. That's more of a technology play that they're bringing to us, which will allow us to do a better job of reaching our audience and getting them more involved in the sport. And today with Gainbridge, which, as we've tried to convey, is very focused on consumers. It's all come together, and between really three of them, we've got partners we haven't had that have the capacity to help us be more in the mainstream of what sports fans watch in this country.
Thank you. Governor, I echo Mark's comments. Thank you for being here. as the biggest cheerleader for the state of Indiana and really a state that works, which we all believe is something that is absolutely true. Can you talk a little bit about how marrying this 100-plus, 110-year-old facility, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and 103 runnings of the Indy 500, and a company like Group 1001 and Gainbridge with Indiana connections, how does that further what you're trying to do for the state of Indiana in terms of economic growth?
Well, it's immensely helpful. You know, the IMS is for 103 years now been taking it to the next level, long before that became a slogan du jour. But, you know, success attracts success. The best want to work with the best. And that's what we're seeing here today with the IMS and with Gainbridge. And for me, everywhere I go, including just about an hour ago, it wasn't my invitation to extend, but I did anyway. I was with the CEO of AAR and trying to encourage him to move to the state of Indiana, not just more business, but he and his wife. And he said, well, you're going to have to talk to my wife about that. And I said, well, let me get my wife and your wife together and maybe go around the track. You know, we'll go 100-plus miles per hour. She's done it, and he said, my wife would be up for that. So we'll talk about that later. But when you think about just what the IMS has meant to not just the past, you know, the memories that have been made here, but what it means to the future of our state, an organization that has been literally tethered to or built on technology advancements and how we connect with people, and in my, you know, day job, how we connect our assets globally, not just around the state or the nation, and to see that evolution when people, you know, 103 years ago were looking in the newspaper or listening to it on the radio or then on TV, and now on, you know, mobile devices. That fan experience is just going to be enhanced again to that next level.
You know, one of the things I think you heard Dan talk about, and one of the things that Mark has really tried to instill across all of Hulman and Company, is a focus on the community. How do we give back? Not just how do we generate more ticket sales, but how are we making the community better? How important is it that you have civic leaders like Dan Towriss and Mark Miles who care about their companies, but at the end of the day really care about the community in the state? And this connection, I think, between Gainbridge and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway really highlights that. But how important is that to you as you try and grow the economy as well as just the quality of life here in Indiana?
Yeah, in one word, critically important. It's the difference maker. It's where the deal either gets made or not. And for a state like Indiana, who has grown alongside of companies like Gainbridge, we have got to not just be competing in the future, we got to be winning. We got to be in that winner circle. We want to be drinking milk every day. And for us to do that, that means that we have got to be skilling up our workforce. And so for Gainbridge to really step forward and encourage and support and promote more women in tech, for Indiana to be a leader in that space, for Gainbridge to support more STEM proficiency throughout the whole state of Indiana, this is what's going to make the difference. This is when we're going to start lapping the competition, not just occupying that pole position.
Well, thank you, Governor, for being here. And maybe last, but certainly not least, and certainly for our fans, one of the most important folks that's sitting up here is two-time Indy 500 starter Zach Veach. Zach, this is a pretty cool announcement for you. This is a relationship that you've had with Dan for a little over a year now. You get to go into your second full season. Impressive beginning year, full year with Andretti last year. I know you had a couple of races before in 2017, but you finished all 17 races last year. And when you think about the importance of Gainbridge and planning out and making sure you finish strong and the investments you make along Gainbridge, your season last year was exactly that. 17 running at the finish. I don't know that anybody else had that kind of record that you did last year.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that's what ties into Gainbridge so well. It's you have to run as fast as you can to win the race, but slow enough to finish. And I think that's very important in the ways that they're handling things. And for me, it's such a privilege to be representing Gainbridge, especially being the presenting sponsor for the 103rd running of the Indy 500. Just 20 years ago, I was 4 years old dreaming of coming to this race, let alone as a fan, not even thinking about being a driver. And to be showing up in May knowing that I'm representing the presenting sponsor for the race is something that's just extraordinary. It's a privilege and an honor, and you know, I'm just so thankful for the people that have made it happen. Dan Towriss has absolutely changed my life, allowing this dream to become a reality. And now with Mark Miles and everyone here, I think we have a product that's very exciting, and it just gets better and better every year. And to be a part of it in such an exciting time with someone like Dan Towriss and a company to represent like Gainbridge and Group 1001 is very special, and I'm just excited to get this year started.
You know, I know most of your thoughts right now are how are you going to go faster, how are you going to improve on a great 2018. You're only 24 years old, so you got that youth going for you. But has Dan already taught you anything through this Gainbridge company on how to invest and how to get prepared for what's going to happen when you're 48, 58, and 68?
Oh, of course. You know, we're thinking. I got to figure out how to take care of my 5 Indy 500 wins and championships when I'm that age. But you know, it's simple, and I think it's going to be very easy to get other drivers on board with this because two things: it's simple and straightforward with great products, and they empower you to win. And that's an easy sell for any driver. We like winning, and so does Dan and Gainbridge. So to be a part of that with the same core values, not only to help people, but at the end of the day to go out there and win something that's very special is something that lines up perfectly.
So I think that's something, you just said it, and Mark said it as well, as something not to be understated, and this is a great partnership for the Indy 500, but there's an element here that's going to help our drivers as well, not just helping elevate them on a platform of racing, but a way to help them learn to invest, learn to save some of that money, so on the backside of their career, they're prepared to figure out what's next in life, so thank you, Dan, for that. Before we end, Mark Miles has a very special presentation that we'd like to make to Dan, and then we'll do some photos, and then we will do one-on-ones afterwards. And those one-on-ones, if you want to find somebody from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they can help you get those one-on-ones set up with any of the 4 folks here at the podium. But Mark, if you want to make that presentation.
Back here? Governor, you want to help him? Sure. It's very heavy. Take the center. Okay. So there we are. The logo is, and the relationship is official. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thank you, everybody, for coming. We're going to do a couple photos, and if you want to grab Alex or Wes or Susie or one of the folks around, they can help you get set up with some one-on-ones with anybody up here. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. It's going to be an exciting May.
Yeah. And then explain to the trooper that the governor instructed. Right.